Today we're going to use Fotodiox macro extension tubes to shoot beautiful insect photography like this. Hey everyone, Sean here with Fotodiox.com. Summer is coming, and of course that means the insects are coming back to life. You're going to start hearing buzzing around your head, and suddenly your arms are going to start itching because the mosquitoes are coming out. And if you live in a place where there are no mosquitoes, can you tell me where that is? Because I want to move there right now. But aside from the annoying insects of summer, insects are a wonderful thing to photograph. Going out in your backyard on a hiking trail and bringing a lens that's capable of macro shooting is like going on a safari to a completely different world, an alien world. There's some amazing insects out there, and if you have the right tools to capture them, it's a really relaxing and fun kind of photography that anyone can do. Now, you could buy a pricey macro focus lens, but why do that when you can get a Fotodiox macro extension tube and shoot macro with any lens you own? This is our Sony E-mount manual macro extension tube, which means it only works with Sony E-mount lenses that are fully manual, but we also make an electronic version that works with electronic Sony E-mount lenses, and we also make macro extension tubes for pretty much any kind of camera mount. The way a macro extension tube works is super simple. You got your camera here, you got your lens. Now, normally you would mount the lens directly to the camera, and that means you're able to focus to infinity and as close as the lens will focus. But if you put extra space between your lens and camera, the lens can suddenly focus much closer. Now, the downside is the more space you put, the less it can focus far away. So basically, the farther you move it away from your camera's mount, the closer you'll be able to focus, but the more limited you'll be in focusing on things farther away. And here at Fotodiox, we make the tool to do just that, to move the lens farther away from your camera. It's called a macro extension tube. Like I said, this is our Sony E-mount macro extension tube, fully manual. And today I'm going to be using it with my Lensbaby Burnside 35, which is a fully manual Sony E-mount lens. Now, when you get a Fotodiox macro extension tube, it's going to come all screwed together in this very tall column. And you generally don't need this much space. So pretty simple, I'll show you what you do. You remove the front where the lens mounts. You remove the back that mounts to the camera. And generally speaking, you're only going to need a little bit of space to focus close up, depending on the size of the thing you're focusing on. If it's a really, really small insect, you might need a little more space. So let's grab the 14mm column. Okay, we've got 14mm, 7mm, decent length for macro photography for insects. So then we just mount the lens on the front, mount it to the camera, and there we go. Now we're able to focus super close up. The downside, of course, is we can't focus far away. So if you need to shoot a portrait or a landscape, you're gonna have to take the macro extension tube off first. But for insect or flower photography, we are ready to go. Now, because this is a fully manual macro tube, you aren't gonna have any electronic control of the lens. Obviously, I'm using a manual lens, so that doesn't matter, but I am going to set my camera to manual, and then I'm just gonna set all the controls manually and use the light meter built into the camera to capture accurate exposures. I took this setup out to some trails around my house. Here are some of the images I was able to capture with this lens, this camera, and the macro extension tube. Like I said earlier, it's amazing how much variety there is in the insect kingdom. It feels like you're on a safari in an alien world. Just look at some of these insects, how different they are from each other, and just how stunningly detailed and beautiful they are. And the reason I was able to focus on these insects and get all the detail on them is I had the macro extension tube, so I was able to get extra close up, focus extra close up. Here's some photos I captured of dragonflies. These are the trickiest little guys to capture because their eyesight is really good and they can see you coming from a mile away. So I had to be really, really careful sneaking up on them, make sure my settings were all ready to go in the camera. So once I got close enough, I could just snap away. I also used this Lensbaby Velvet 85. This is an f1.9 lens, so super fast. And this lens already has macro focus, but with the macro extension tube, I was able to focus even closer. And because this lens is so long, I could crop really close in on the insects I was photographing. Now, the day I captured these photos, it was pretty windy, so it was pretty hard to focus on the insects because the plants were moving around constantly. But I was able to capture a few good shots, and I also tried some experimental shots where I set the lens all the way to f1.8. Now, these images are very, very soft. There's a reason Lens Baby calls this the velvet. It does kind of have this velvet look when it's wide open all the way, kind of like there's Vaseline smeared on the lens. But I do kind of like the effect for some of these macro images captured with this lens. So this summer, if you're looking for some creative photography to try out, why not try our macro extension tubes with your lens? If you have any questions about what macro extension tubes would work for you and your camera and lenses, comment below. I'd love to help you out. And click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Fotodiox.com, and thanks for watching.